In the early hours of Tuesday morning, hours before President Trump's 8:00 p.m. deadline expires, Iranian forces launched the largest coordinated attack of the entire war against USS Abraham Lincoln. Intelligence analysts would later describe it as Iran's final attempt to change the outcome of a conflict they already know they have lost. At 2:44 in the morning, 180 Shahab drones leave their coastal launch positions on three separate bearings simultaneously. The Abraham Lincoln Spy 6 radar picks them up 6 seconds later. 180 contacts, 3 directions. The largest drone swarm Iran has launched against a single vessel since the war began. The crew of the Abraham Lincoln has seen drone swarms before. They know the procedure. They begin the engagement with the efficiency of a crew that has run this exact scenario dozens of times in 37 days offshore. What they have not seen before ISWAT is flying 40 kilometers behind the swarm, 6 Karamshar ballistic missiles, Iran's heaviest warhead, each one carrying enough explosive to permanently remove a carrier from the fight, flying directly behind the drone formation on a trajectory that places them in the radar shadow created by 180 simultaneous drone contacts ahead of them, invisible to the spy. 6 until the drone's close enough to clear the radar horizon. At that point, the missiles will be 90 seconds from the Abraham Lincoln's flight deck. Iran had spent 37 days watching how the Abraham Lincoln defends itself. They had counted the interceptors. They had measured the engagement rate. They had calculated exactly how many drones it takes to drain the magazine to the point where 6 ballistic missiles arriving simultaneously from behind become unsurvivable. 180 was the number they arrived at. This attack was not designed in the last few hours. It was designed weeks ago and held in reserve for one specific moment. The moment Iran knew was coming. The moment Trump's deadline made inevitable. If the power plants got dark tonight, if the bridges fall, if strikes that Trump promised Arab 8 p.m. is threatened, Iran loses whatever remains of its ability to fight back. This is the last window, the last hours, the last missiles, and the last drones, and the last chance to make America pay something before the lights go out. The interceptor count at the start of the engagement stands at full magazine. It will not stay there long. The first wave of drones enters engagement range at 2:51. 60 contacts from the northern bearing. The escort destroyers assign interceptors methodically, 1 per contact, working through the wave with the practiced efficiency of crews that have done this before. The contacts begin disappearing from the tactical display one by one. The interceptor count drops. The second wave enters from the eastern bearing at 2:54, another 60 contacts. The formation splits its attention north and east simultaneously. Interceptors launch engine sequences that the aegis system has been optimized to manage over 37 days of continuous combat operations. The interceptor count drops further. At 2:55, the electronic warfare officer on the Abraham Lincoln looks at something in her passive sensor display that stops music her completely. Lieutenant Commander Nicole Grant has been in this role since the FATA 2 engagement 19 days ago. She does not startle easily. She has seen things on her display that would have been unimaginable to her a year ago. But what she is looking at right now in the 67 seconds since the drone swarm appeared on radar is something she has never seen before and something that music. Nobody else in the formation has had time to look for because everyone else is managing 180 simultaneous contacts across 3 bearings. The drones are not flying random approach patterns. They are flying in a precise geometric formation. Music, a specific 3-dimensional arrangement of 180 contacts that creates a radar shadow of calculable size directly behind the swarm. A shadow large enough to conceal 6 ballistic missile contacts from the spy. 6 radar until those contacts are inside 90 seconds of impact range. The drones are not the attack. The drones are a shield, and behind that shield, invisible, 6 missiles are already in the air. Grant does not pick up a circuit. She does not report it. She does not ask for authorization because there is no time for any of those things, and because she understands in this moment that the only thing that matters is what she does in the next 4 minutes before those missiles clear the radar horizon. She makes a decision that has not been authorized by anyone above her. She begins holding interceptors back from the drone engagement. Not all of them. Enough. A calculated reduction in the intercept rate on the northern and eastern drone waves allows enough to preserve a specific number of interceptors for 6 ballistic contacts that will appear on radar in approximately 4 minutes. The decision means some drones will get further than they should. It means the phalanx CIWs will have to work harder in the inner defense ring. It means 3 drones reach the inner perimeter before the phalanx destroys them, close enough that their debris scatters across the water. 800 m from the Abraham Lincoln's hull. It also means that when the missiles appear, the magazine is not empty. The third wave enters from the southern bearing at 2:58, the final 60 drones. The engagement is running at maximum tempo across 3 bearings simultaneously. The interceptor count is dropping faster than at any point in the war. The tactical display is a landscape of contacts and intercept solutions and debris signatures from destroyed drones, a picture of controlled chaos that every officer in the Combat Information Center is completely focused on managing. Nobody except Grant is watching the space behind the swarm. At 3:01, 6 new contacts appear on the spy. 6 simultaneously, ballistic, fast, already inside 90 seconds. The aegis system classifies all 6 in 2.1 seconds and begins building intercept solutions. 6 simultaneous ballistic contacts at close range behind an active drone engagement is the worst possible geometric scenario for the fire control computer. The solutions are not clean. They cannot be clean. The radar picture is cluttered with drone debris and active intercept sequences, and the ballistic contacts are already maneuvering in terminal phase. 90 seconds. The first 2 SM-6 interceptors launch on the highest priority contacts at 3:01. Both find their targets. 2 missiles destroyed for remaining. 2 more SM-6 launch at 3:02. 1 finds its target. 1 misses the assigned contact, executes a terminal correction that the fire control solution had not anticipated. 3 missiles remaining. 44 seconds. The 5th SM-6 launches and destroys a 3rd contact at 3:02. 2 missiles remaining. The magazine is at 4%. 1 interceptor left. 2 contacts inbound. 28 seconds. The last SM-6 launches on the higher priority of the 2 remaining contacts at 3:02. It finds it. 1 missile remaining. The magazine is empty. 1 Karamshar warhead still inbound. The heaviest warhead Iran has ever fired at a carrier in this war. 28 seconds from the Abraham Lincoln's flight deck. The phalanx CIWS activates on the final contact. The fire control radar locks onto the warhead at 1.8 nautical miles. The engagement geometry is not favorable. A ballistic warhead in terminal phase descending at near vertical angle at this range is the hardest possible target for a close-in weapon system designed primarily for sea-skimming threats. The music phalanx was not built for this. Nothing about this moment is what it was built for. It fires anyway because it is the last thing left. The burst reaches the intercept point. The warhead executes a terminal correction, 2.1 degrees. Enough. The rounds miss by 11 m. The phalanx cycles for a second burst, reload time, for seconds. The warhead is 9 seconds from the flight deck. In the Combat Information Center, every officer is looking at the same display showing 1 contact still inbound, and a magazine reading 0, and a phalanx cycling and 9 seconds on the clock. Rear Admiral Carver picks up the all-hands circuit. All hands brace for impact. The words travel through every speaker on every deck of the Abraham Lincoln simultaneously. In the engine rooms, music. In the hangar bay, in the mess decks where off-duty crew members are sitting, in the medical bay, in every compartment on a ship carrying 500 people who all hear the same words at the same moment and understand exactly what they mean. The warhead is 7 seconds from the flight deck. On the forward deck, music. 4 crew members who were securing aircraft tie-downs look up at sky instinctively when the announcement comes. They cannot see the warhead. It is too fast and too small, and the pre-dawn darkness makes it invisible until the last second. But they look up anyway, because human beings look up. Music. When something is coming from above, even when they cannot see it. 0.6 seconds. In the Combat Information Center, nobody speaks. The tactical display shows 1 contact still inbound, still descending. The phalanx still cycling. For seconds until it can fire again. The warhead arriving in 1 second. That is the gap between the phalanx being ready and the warhead arriving. 1 second where the last defensive system on the most powerful carrier in the world cannot fire, and the heaviest warhead Iran has ever built is already through the inner defense ring, and there is nothing between it and the flight deck. But Grant has been jamming the Karamshar's terminal guidance correction frequency for 44 seconds. She identified the frequency at the moment the 6 contacts appeared on radar 4 minutes and 33 seconds earlier. The same ground station frequency that Iranian ballistic missiles have used throughout this war to transmit final position corrections to warheads in terminal phase. She has been broadcasting a focused jamming signal on that frequency continuously since 3:01, preventing the ground station from transmitting correction updates to any of the 6 warheads throughout their entire terminal descent. 5 of the 6 missiles had enough pre-programmed evidence to find the Abraham Lincoln without correction updates. The 6th, the one now 4 seconds from impact, had been programmed for a terminal approach angle that assumed the Abraham Lincoln would be on its current heading at its current speed throughout the engagement. The Abraham Lincoln has not maintained its current heading throughout the engagement. It has been maneuvering. Small course changes made automatically by the helmsman in response to the drone engagement. Changes that were not dramatic. Changes that would not have mattered against a missile receiving real-time position corrections from a ground station. Changes that matter enormously against a missile that has received no corrections for 44 seconds. The Karamshar warhead impacts the Arabian C-180M off the Abraham Lincoln's port bow at 3:02. The phalanx completes its reload cycle 1 second after the detonation. It has nothing left to fire at. The detonation off a Karamshar warhead in open ocean 180M from a carrier is not a quiet event. The explosion sends a column off water 340 feet into the air. The pressure wave hits the Abraham Lincoln's hull hard enough to knock crew members off their feet in compartments throughout the ship. The flight deck flexes. Equipment breaks loose from mounts in 4 separate compartments. 2 sailors are treated for injuries sustained from being thrown against bulkheads. 180M, nothing touches the hull. In the Combat Information Center, the tactical display shows the drone engagement completing. The last Shahid contacts disappearing from the display as the phalanx and the escort destroyers clear the final wave. 180 drones launched, 180 destroyed. 6 ballistic missiles launched, 6 destroyed or deflected. Iran had spent weeks designing an attack around the Abraham Lincoln's magazine limit. They had calculated the number correctly. The magazine was at 0 when a last missile was deflected. They had not calculated for an electronic warfare officer who started holding interceptors back 4 minutes before the missiles appeared on radar. The passive sensor collection that Grant had been running throughout the engagement had fixed every Iranian asset that participated in the attack. Every drone launch position, every missile launch position, every radar installation that had provided targeting support, every ground station that had attempted to transmit correction data to the warheads. All off it transmitted to the strike package at 3:08. The rest of Tuesday morning passed quietly on the Abraham Lincoln. Flight operations resumed at 6:14. The damage control teams finished their assessments by 9 o'clock. The ship was fully operational before noon. 14 new targets had been added to the strike list that morning. The drone launch positions, the missile launch positions, the ground stations. Everything Iran had revealed by launching their last attack had been fixed, packaged, and added during the hours after the engagement. Iran fired their last weapons in the early hours of Tuesday morning. America spent the rest of the day finding everything Iran had been hiding. The Abraham Lincoln is operational. The crew is ready. The deadline has not yet arrived. Iran has nothing left to stop it.